many people know you as Dwayne Muffin, the YouTuber. How
Yes.
on earth has that happened?
As you know, I moved to Ibiza when I was 20 years old. Back then it was sort of pushing cream amnesia. So I set up a Twitter page, called it Ibiza Club News spontaneously because that's what everyone was talking about. Essentially leaking the news. YouTube, I got into YouTube. Henry Sarmentino, who has the Sonic Vista studios in Ibiza, and he sat me down one day and he said, then why don't you try this YouTube and vlogging? Casey Neistat, who is one of the biggest vloggers in the world, his videos were like, they were just incredible to watch. COVID came, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I took my camera out and started recording, and it was me walking into the supermarket, and for whatever reason 29,000 people watched it. I couldn't walk from the egg to my house without being stopped 30-40 times. It's also can be a wee bit strange.
Hello there, Dwayne. How are you, my old friend?
Hello Dexter, how are you? I am good. I'm here in a very cold Ibiza today. Well, when I say very cold, it's like 16 degrees, but it's just windy.
You're so lucky. It's freezing here. Absolutely freezing. I'm just going to jump straight into it, my friend.
Yeah, fire away.
Many people know you as Dwayne Muffin, the YouTuber. How
Yes.
on earth has that happened?
Good question. So, as you know, I moved to Ibiza when I was 20 years old, and I was kind of working in the big bad West End, like yourself,
Yes.
for many years. And then I went back one winter and started just trying to look at ways of how I could attract more people to the shop when we were selling tickets for the club nights at the time. Back then it was sort of pushing cream amnesia, blah, blah, blah. So I set up a Twitter page, called it Ibiza Club News spontaneously because that's what everyone was talking about. Then sort of Ibiza Club News sort of evolved as the go-to place on Twitter because we were essentially leaking the news of the movements around the clubs. With that, I sort of then started doing a lot of the marketing for beach clubs, restaurants. We were the first people doing it. This was long before Instagram was even a thing. It was just Facebook pages. There was no videos in them days. YouTube, I got into YouTube many years down the line, thanks to a guy called Henry Sarmentino, who has the Sonic Vista studios in Ibiza. And he sat me down one day and he said, you're always doing something. Why don't you try this YouTube and vlogging? So I was sat in his villa one night, like, what's a YouTube vlog sort of thing? He put me, not in contact, but he gave me a guy called Casey Neistat, who is one of the biggest vloggers in the world. And I just got obsessed with this guy, just floating around New York. Now, he is a movie maker, but his videos were like I don't know, I wouldn't want to call them nothing, but they were just incredible to watch. And I remember watching how everybody would react to him when he would walk past them. They'd scream out his name. And Henry kept saying, that'll be you one day. And I was like, no one's going to watch these. And for years, I started doing the YouTube vlogs. I was collaborating with the likes of Armin van Buuren to start with, like Paris Hilton. It was just like, what the hell's going on? And then it just didn't work. So I gave up. And then COVID came. And I was doing a little bit of work with Neil Evans, and I remember turning to Neil one day, like COVID had came, all the DJs bookings were cancelled, we were unsure if summer was starting, and I was in the apartment, and I said to Neil, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I took my camera out and started recording COVID. I think I'd done the first video in Neil's house, and it was me walking into the supermarket, and for whatever reason 29,000 people watched it. And then we just had the island free then, so I literally, it was almost every day I would take that camera out and walk around showing the empty streets, the empty towns, the empty beaches. And then I just started getting an audience, and then that's when I started to feel really comfortable on the camera, because I was no longer talking to the camera, I was talking to people. And then it kind of evolved from there, and then off the back of YouTube, my Instagram's now growing and TikTok's growing. So that's sort of how it all started.
Wow. So a lot of people don't actually know or remember that you started Ibiza Club News, which was the first kind of Ibiza news magazine online in Ibiza at the time. And the rest all followed, didn't they?
Yeah, no, like respect to Ibiza Spotlight, we're always there. I
Of
think
course, yes,
we
yes.
were, there was a couple of us on Twitter that kind of had a voice for Ibiza. Give Shaggy his due. Shaggy was always on Twitter. Myself, um, Spotlight were always there, and then but they weren't really doing, they weren't leaking the clubs because they obviously had relationship with a lot of the clubs and they couldn't really talk about certain things because essentially it was a business. So yeah, that's how Ibiza Club News started to grow, and then we were. I remember we used to like tweet something and it would get 1,000 retweets, and it grew, and then you started seeing the bigger name DJs such as Tiesto and that following it and replying and interacting. And I think we didn't have a Facebook page for a long time because generally I don't even believe there was Facebook pages were a new thing. And then because we had such a big following on Twitter, we were able to then gain the following on Instagram. I mean, I was doing WhatsApp when it first came out, and now I look at everybody doing WhatsApp, and I'm like, I had that idea years ago, but
You're like
I
a
just I
pioneer.
didn't. I don't know. I think just I wouldn't say that, but well, I've been plugging at it for 14, 15
You're
years.
definitely a step ahead when it came to socials on Ireland, because I think everyone's had to catch up with you. Yeah, and I think at one point you were so far ahead with the Beta Club News, and lots of the
Yeah,
clubs were using you as a media portal, and I think, and then a lot of other media portals opened up, and a lot of other the clubs then built their
yeah,
socials as well.
yeah,
They
yeah. A
kind of
lot,
caught up.
yeah, a lot of the clubs were, didn't really exist on social media, or they didn't have
Mhm.
sort of a following. And then I suppose just even now, like that sort of, God, I remember there was like one or two Ibiza pages. Now, like anybody with an Instagram account has an Ibiza page, and it's quite the same content. And I think even now I'm starting to think I need to really up my game because that's going to change now. I put all my time and effort into making the videos, whether it be on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. Um, and it's just, yeah, it is what it is. It's just part of life. But yeah, I feel like there's so much more It's like anybody, DJs will tell you the same things,
Yeah,
you know.
take it as a compliment, though. You seem to be the one that everyone's following. And what year did you arrive in Ibiza?
I On holiday, I first came in 2008, so I was 17. I just turned 18, I think, the night of Lineker's opening.
Oh my Lord.
And then in 2010, I moved to Ibiza. I actually didn't plan on going to Ibiza. Sort of the idea of looking at Ibiza just wasn't for me. I'd been lucky because I was like 13, 14, traveling, watching Celtic all over Europe, and all the lads wanted to book a lad's holiday, and I had kind of been there, done that, been around. Even though I was only young, I'd still experienced all these European cities. So when I came to Ibiza, I had this idea of just boozed up Brits abroad based on the Ibiza Uncovered. My sister used to watch
Yeah,
it, and
yeah.
I'd remember watching it, and I was like, nah, it's not really from me. Little did I know I would become one of those.
Yes, of course.
But yeah, that's kind of, my mate crashed his car after the lads booked the holiday, and he couldn't afford to go. And I said, well, I've got money, I might as well pay off the holiday because he didn't want to go. So I took the spare place, and then I just fell in love with the island. But I didn't fall in love with the island. I fell in love with just that freedom of, it was a West End, and I don't even think I was bothered about going to a club. And Chris from Es Paradis actually PR'd up me and my mate in the
No
Es
way.
Paradis for Clubland. I remember it was like €45, and I was like, I'm not paying that. And my mate paid it for me. And
Wow.
we went. We had the time of our life. That was back when Es Paradis, it was one in,
Yeah,
one
yeah,
out.
yeah. I remember I was thinking about Chris only the other day. He arrived at 2003. I mean, he worked at what's now called Temptations, Gorm's Garage, it used to be
Yeah,
called.
yeah, yeah.
And I think we were his first employer. And he was amazing. He used to get so many people in. This is before he even worked at Es Paradis.
Yeah, yeah, he was
Yeah,
incredible.
he's a great lad, and you might even get him on here, because I bet he's got some stories.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, yeah,
He
I
would be.
think that's kind of like, looking back on it now, like I was saying to someone the other day when I was sat in San Antonio, and I'm going to reference San Antonio because I've lived here for so long, and that's kind of where most of the memories come from. But
Me too.
like you had, yourself, you had 50 plus characters. And essentially, there's not many characters left, bar Angelito. You know, he's still flying the flag, pardon the pun.
When I come over, I still love catching up. There's still that core left, isn't there?
But the character, like, there's so many characters that would have been around that sadly have left or passed away or whatever, and yeah, that's kind of, sometimes it's a bit difficult in winter to grab someone to go and watch the football with.
Okay, and where are you originally from?
I'm from a place called Enniskillen, which is just north of the border. Beautiful town, great place. No real clubbing scene there since, there was a clubbing scene before my era, but because I came to Ibiza so young, I can't really talk about the clubbing scene in Ireland or the north. It's like quite, Kelly's and Portrush with Carl Hamilton. Those guys, but I've never experienced it.
Wow.
I actually was going to catch up with Fergie the other night when I was back home. He was playing in the Telegraph building for the Met Arena with Judge Jules, and I can't remember what happened. It was the timing of the buses, and I text Fergie, I don't think I'm going to make it. And Fergie was like, you'll probably thank yourself tomorrow for it, without a sore head.
How many years have you lived all year round in Ibiza? There's a big difference between doing seasons and actually being a resident, isn't there?
Well, we're on year 15 now. I'd say I lived in Dubai for 3 months. Spent a bit of time in New York twice. I probably 11 or 12 years. I couldn't tell you which year I wasn't here. There was a few years where I went home to Ireland, but then I just fell in love with the island, hiking, biking. Biggest challenge I have is getting up. Where do I go for a coffee? It's pretty relaxed.
Awesome. And your channel, Dwayne Muffin, where does the muffin come from? This is an old nickname.
I'd love to say there was a guy, Ali, at school, and he just called me Muffin Head because you can see I'm starting to but I just basically have a hair that doesn't do anything, and if I ever let it grow, it's just one of those. It turns into just like there's nothing happening. And he used to call me Muffin Head, and I absolutely hated it. And then once he called me that, a couple of the lads found out, and then I got known as Muffin.
One of them.
Yeah, it was one of those things. So when I was setting up my YouTube channel, I wanted to call it like Dwayne's World or something, and it was taken because I never wanted to specifically call it anything to Ibiza because I never knew if I was going to venture out to Mallorca or go travel vlogging.
Yeah,
so
good move.
And my Twitter handle was Dwayne Muffin, so I thought, well, people are going to remember that. The odd time I get called Dwayne Murphy or something because people don't really know my name, but yeah, that's there's no real cool story as to Muffin.
Yeah, I never actually knew that was the story.
Yeah, I was just... Yeah, it's now when I see Ali, when I go back home for Christmas and that, he'll be like, you owe me money for that name, so...
Oh, your mates say. And the channel, it's really beginning to gain traction now. It has been for some time now.
Yeah, I think I switched off there for about 2 months, but I just uploaded a YouTube video for the first time in 2 months. Kind of lost, to be honest, Dexter. It's, people don't really see how much it costs to put a YouTube vlog together, because a lot of bars and restaurants aren't really that willing to contribute or help. And then you find yourself, you might put €50 in the car, head off for breakfast in Santa Gertrudis, drive around the island, and you're literally spending all your day. Look at everybody who feels sorry for me, but generally, if you're doing a video every day, there's no reason why you're not spending 100 to maybe 200 if you're including a restaurant in that. Now, don't get me wrong, some restaurants do look after me, but that's few and far between. So. And the hikes are obviously the easier vlogs to do because it costs nothing. But I have somebody helping me with the structure of it this year, and I'll probably put less vlogs out, but put more time into them. Because during COVID, it was different. I was just getting up, running around the island, didn't care, helping out businesses, doing it for free, eating here, doing that. But then now that it's got a following, I want to give it value.
Yeah,
instead of just rolling out a video every day, because there's people who love seeing empty towns, and then there's other people that just don't want to see that content. So it's trying to find a balance, because what I find with YouTube as well is you don't know how many people are watching them. You know, you might get the stats at the end of the month to say you've had 1 million views, but that could be 1 million families, 1 million. I've had football teams, police academies, people tell me they watch them. A lot of people are like maybe going through depression, and they say you're their only gateway into Ibiza. So they use them as like a coping mechanism. People that are suffering from cancer, people that can't afford to come to Ibiza, people that just want to see Ibiza. People like to reminisce. Also, you can have a lot of people who maybe have like certain things such as autism, and they just want to see Ibiza. It's really fascinating when you're walking around, you meet these people, and that's what they tell you.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Are you being recognised a lot in the summer?
Yeah. It always started with being in San Antonio. Now it got to the point where I couldn't walk from the egg to my house without being stopped 30, 40 times. It's nice. It's also can be a wee bit strange. You know, you're sitting in a restaurant and someone just pulls up a chair, and because you got to remember, everyone in Ibiza is usually somewhat intoxicated, so they will talk to you. And no, I'm very grateful for it. Look, it's not a bad problem to have, but it has been like you can't get away with nothing now. It's like you know, even now, like in the winter, I'm going to places. When it was San Antonio, it was like wow, but then when I go to events, like your event especially, like the Kevin and Perry event, forget it. I couldn't walk through the crowd. There was people grabbing me, pulling me, getting pictures.
I saw. We were talking outside, remember?
Yeah.
Or we were talking outside, or you were doing a vlog, and you couldn't get the vlog done because everyone was coming up to you going, "Oh, you're that guy." Yeah, I saw it with my own eyes. It was just like, my God, the man's famous in Ibiza. That's crazy. It's good. Good for you.
On the flip side, I've been having business meetings with directors of various brands and clubs, and I've been interrupted by people asking for a picture, and I'm like, you know, that's just free marketing to the point where they're like, did you set this up?
Absolute gold.
And then when I noticed, like, obviously being in Ibiza, you just expect it now, especially at events and venues. But then when I was away, I was in New York on a boat party in the middle of the Hudson, and I had like groups of people coming up to me, and my mate was going, "This is weird." And then obviously if I'm back home around Christmas, if I'm in Belfast, Dublin, airports, you're like, wow.
That's great for you though, because it's the age of personal branding, isn't it? It's really moved towards that. So you've kind of inadvertently slipped into that, because everyone's after becoming a personal brand, and you've kind of just stumbled across it with your natural content. It's great.
I think because I actually do take the time to sit with people. Like if I'm doing nothing, I'll sit and have a beer with them. I'm not really having any drinks anymore, but I would sit and have a coffee, a beer, whatever, and get to chat to them, because at the end of the day, they're the people who watch your vlogs. So they buy the guide, and I probably wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for them. So
awesome. We'll put all your information in the guide in the description of these videos as well. So
I haven't actually done the 2025 one.
Do you want to explain to me a little bit more about what the guide is?
It's just I get inundated every day with messages of like recommendations, places to go. So I just kind of wrote a guide that it's just like 100 and something page PDF where I pick all the places in certain towns that I recommend and I go to. And people use it for their holiday, which is mental. Like they come up to me and say, "Well, we wouldn't have had a good holiday if it wasn't for your guide."
Wow. Okay.
But that's kind of a reminder to me that, you know, I don't want to say stupid, but people are generally oblivious. You know, they don't know. You know, we all have this thing where we've lived in Ibiza, so we know it all. Whereas average person coming to Ibiza don't know it, so they really find value in it. And the way I position it is, I charge £20 for it, but that's invest back into my YouTube channel. And by buying that, you're helping me, because I'd hate to be that guy that's looking for people to invest, or, you know, looking for a subscription or something when they don't get anything in return.
Yeah. No, it is expensive running anything online, and this is partly why we're doing this series of podcasts for One More Time Ibiza, just to get behind the scenes, show people how much work, effort, money, and just lack of sleep you get and worry, over producing something for the entertainment of others. It's a real challenge, and it keeps you awake at night.
Yeah, because then you get an audience, and then if you miss it, they're checking to see if you're all right, and then if you're not putting out the content or it doesn't appeal to people, then that's when the abuse comes and the negative comments comes. You're like, what have I done wrong here? And then God forbid you mention anything about money, or you're living in Ibiza and you're living my dream, and you're like, yeah, but we all have bills to pay. And if you think about it, like if I was to go out and do a vlog today, for example, 15 minutes of footage might cost me 9 hours, might cost me 3 days. It depending on, that might take me that long to get that footage to put it together, because all those 3-second clips, that might be half an hour drive to get to one place to the other. And then those 8 hours, I'm making a vlog that will probably only make me about €30, let's be honest, with the revenue from YouTube. But those 8 hours are 8 hours that I've neglected my Instagram messages, missed potential boat bookings, missed emails. So you're kind of, it's trying to have a plan.
Editing all your stuff must be time consuming as well, because that is another major thing. Like we put together a large volume of video for our events weekly, week in, week out, and we're chasing it sometimes, and it has to be perfect. And people don't understand what goes into creating that 30-second bit of content. And how much back and forth has happened. And it might not engage with anyone. It might be a dud. Luckily, a lot of our stuff is engaged and watched by people like yours. But it can get frustrating at times, kind of, when you think you've got a really great piece of content, and then it doesn't go anywhere.
Well, that's the thing that I find about content is like, it's always the piece that you weren't going to post works the well, and the bloody piece that you think's going to be a viral video, forget it. 9 times out of 10, the thing that should work doesn't work, and the thing that shouldn't work does work. And I'm like, so that's where I'm. So like, I done a video the other day on YouTube just to return, as I said, listen, I'm coming back. Sorry about the weather. I heard there's a storm in England. Walked around. I thought no one's going to watch that, and I think it's on 8,000 views, which in YouTube's for good, which is good. And I'm like, right, so what do I do now?
I'm now getting to the level where we're posting so much that it's sometimes just luck, because you can post the same bit of content twice and it will perform completely differently. And it's just, no one understands these algorithms, and it's
well, I found that out with you guys whenever I had the after movie of Kevin and Perry. God, it must have been about 2 years ago. I think it had 47,000 views. And I don't know what it made me change. Just one day, I just downloaded it again and I uploaded it again. Do you remember? I think I texted you and I posted the second time, and I think I used maybe Y-Tracks or one of those Ibiza anthems. And I was like, Dexter, that's like 1.5 million people watched that video. But it was the exact same video. The first one had 47,000 views, and the second one...
explanation for it. My business partner always says it's just, you cannot understand computers or algorithms or anything. Like we're starting moving it a little bit towards TikTok, and we're experimenting and testing TikTok content, and some of the stuff that's worked is like, what? And some of the stuff that hasn't, we're like, what's going on here? So you obviously come from a social media background. You taught me quite a lot in the original days of how to about Facebook and stuff like that, and then I opened the group, the Ibiza worker group.
Oh,
remember? Yeah, and then it just flew, and then I had no choice, and then I actually realized that I was actually quite good at this stuff. And have made.
I forgot about that. I remember you phoned me, didn't you? And you were like, I'm thinking of opening this group, and I think I just said go for it, because see what happens.
I asked you, should I open it as a page or a group? I think that was it. That was it. And I was like, I'm bored. I'm at home, and the missus went out, and I was toying with it, and then it was within 24 hours, it was just went crazy.
Yeah. And its groups are hard, because I tried to set up my own group for my YouTubers, and I had it on every video. Join the group, join the private group. I might as well delete it. There was only a couple of hundred people joined it.
I've seen some channels pop up out of nowhere and get 100,000 followers overnight. And then you see some other groups. I've tried some other groups as well, and they just haven't worked. And yet again, you're like, it's
and it's like, it's kind of having you have to vet them, because I've seen various groups, Ibiza groups, and then they get just oversaturated with the same bloody content, the same people trying to pitch business.
Yeah.
And they're irrelevant then, aren't they? When they,
Well, they're called reshare pages now, aren't they? And I think Instagram are cracking down on a lot of the reshare. Well, they were supposed to. I know the CEO announced that he didn't want reshare pages to be operating anymore in a space of Instagram, and if you shared somebody else's content, then only your followers can see it, and you won't be able to grow your.
Well, I find on Instagram, the less you post, not in the terms of reels and stuff, but if, for example, I post one story, I'll have 20,000 people open it. If you ask me to share your one more time video, that will plummet to 2,000 opens, and then my whole day's ruined. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But it's hard because you get loads of friends. Oh, can you share this for me? And I'm like, you're going to kill my reach, and they think you're being a bit of a prick.
Yeah, no, but you understand how it works. How's your mate, Chris Moyles, by the way?
Chris. Oh, what a guy.
How did that come about?
Honestly, I remember there's a part in YouTube and it tells you who subscribed to your channel. And I remember looking at it and it said Chris Moyles. And I'd kind of half forgot that Chris was on Radio X. And I was like, oh, Chris Moyles, of course I remember him. That was it. Never looked at it. And then one day I had been out at night and I rolled over and my phone was going berserk. And I thought, what have I done last night? So I looked at my stories and I was like, no, I was sensible. And I looked and I just seen loads of followers. So I initially thought somebody signed me up to one of these bots, because I'm clicking on people and I'm like, oh, someone's out to get me here. They're ruining my reach by signing me up, because it was abnormal amount of follows. And there was one person and I just messaged them. I said, why have you followed me? Because they all came in at like literally within 30 seconds of each other. And someone was like, oh, I was just driving to Manchester and I heard you on Chris Moyles. And I was like, what? And then a couple of people who are my subscribers and followers were sending me, and then they were like, oh, we've got the bite here, listen to it, it's on this minute. It's fair play to them. I don't know who they were, but they were like, he mentioned you this time. So I was able to go back, and he didn't mention my name the first time, and then the second time it happened again, and I'm thinking, what the hell's going on?
I was watching a video of a guy in Ibiza. I subscribed to this guy. He's a Northern Irish guy, and he's lived in Ibiza for a few years. He just does these videos just walking about Ibiza. And it's actually more interesting to watch now, out of season, than it is when it's all kicking off.
Yeah.
And he's walking around in a T-shirt.
It's lovely, isn't it?
This is on like Saturday.
When does Ibiza open?
The start of the summer.
Well, for the clubby season.
What's it like now? Stuff just all closed.
So do you want to know? Because I just watched this video yesterday, so I can say it like as if I'm an expert. There's a lot of construction going on.
Is there?
Loads, obviously. So it's a lot quieter now because it's out of season.
Yeah.
So they're doing loads of construction. But there's also a massive problem with accommodation for locals.
Really?
Because the rents are just starting to get silly.
They're being outpriced.
Which then is having a spiral effect. Because let's say you have a restaurant, you rely on staff coming out to work at that restaurant,
Sure.
but then staff are finding it hard to get rents on places, so the businesses are suffering because of it. I learned all of this yesterday.
Yeah.
So I think I reached out to him and I never heard anything back. And then he replied to me. He's like, sorry, I don't read my Twitter messages, but I love your stuff. Keep doing what you're doing. And then the sound bites, he's just like, I just follow this random guy that just doesn't know what he's doing one day from the next. And then he was talking about the housing crisis in Ibiza and that. And he goes, I know this because of Dwayne Muffin. Then he said, oh, if I'm out in Ibiza, I'll reach out to you. So I was at a party in the north, in a place called Safragel. And I remember I had a shirt on and it was a white theme party. We're dancing around, drinking wine. And then I got my phone text message and I was like, what's up? It's Moylesy. Do you want to meet for a coffee tomorrow? So I was like, what? So then I didn't even get home. I went to my girlfriend's house. So I was in the same clothes as the night I was wearing a shirt. And I met him in a Zeus and we sat down. We spoke for about 2 hours. So
wow.
I think I don't want nothing from him or anything. I think that's quite a good relationship. We had a good chat. If I need to WhatsApp him there, the option's there. But I think he'll probably pick up on some of the vlogs in the coming weeks as and when they're information for him.
Also a source of a resource for you, because I've followed Morsey for years. He was always my favourite because
Same with me.
His shows were so clever, you know, it just he brings it to life, and the people that he's got around him, and the things they get up to. I know, obviously, they have a creative team. I've forgotten the channels it was on before, but I think it was BBC, wasn't it, or Capital? I can't remember.
BBC Radio 1,
BBC Radio 1, yeah, and he was just hilarious. And I used to. So when I heard that you were getting followed by him, it's just great, you know. And
it's funny because it reminded me of. I remember when I left school, I went in to be a joiner. You know, I was terrible at school. Looking back, I had mad ADHD, and now it makes sense. But I was terrible at school. Didn't get any results. Nothing going for me, other than taking a trade. Went into doing joinery, and I remember sitting. I don't want to say a horrible boss, but I had a man who was like, he just made me feel like shit. And I used to go into the canteen, and for that 15 minutes, I could listen to Chris Moyles. And I remember Chris Moyles and Fetty Legrand was on, Put Your Hands Up for Detroit. I Love This City. That was the big track. And I remember, because that's what reminded me, around the same time, Fetty Legrand messaged me or had followed me or something. And I was like, what the is going on here? Like, that just reminds me of sitting in this old canteen stinking of sawdust. And I quit that day or the day after. I just said enough, and then I got a different job working in a telecommunications office, and then that's when I made the leap to Ibiza after coming on the holiday. So I kind of, when I think about it, I'm like, I used to listen to Chris Moyles more or less every morning on the way to work, hating life, and in the canteen just wanting to leave.
That's really strange. Do you know what? It's brought back a really big memory of the tune that you just told, Put Your Hands Up for Detroit. I walked into Eden. I think it was just opening, and this is when Alex Zellinger, who will be on here at some point soon, had me over, and it's when the DJ booth was in the middle of the club. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Well, no, I remember it at the back.
It was the last year of it being there. And he goes, Dex, listen to this. This is going to be the tune of the summer. So he put it on and he dropped it. And it just went huge that year. And it's also, I love doing these chats because things start coming back to me. I was talking to Dean, Dirty Rotten DJs, a few days ago, and we did a podcast. And because he literally taught me everything I knew about promoting, and he told me how we first met and how we first did our first party. And I'd forgotten half those details, obviously, because I've abused myself so much over the years. Because no, you did it. You got the ship busy because you did X, Y, and Z. And I'm just like, so I did. So doing these like interviews with people and old friends is bringing all the memories back. Yeah. No, that's another memory that's popped up. But let's talk about 2025. Now, this is a big, big year for Ibiza. The year of change. I thought there was going to be a year of change after you guys reopened after COVID. But this is an even bigger ball game with Universe opening and really reshuffling the pack.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's the first time I've actually been excited for a few years. Universe seemed to be really just sort of, I don't know, it's like sort of taking all the big sort of events, and then it's what's interesting with that is what do they do with their own, because they now have more or less a monopoly of three of the major venues. I'm interested to see, like, because Universe is such a big space to fill, how does that then affect High and Ushuaia? Does that mean that and I'm keen to see how many people are actually coming to the island due to the price, because before you used to have people that come to the island for 2 weeks. Now it's less than a week.
Yeah.
So, it's for them, and it's fascinating to see how, because effectively they're going to be competing with each other.
Yeah.
Not to mention Pasha, Amnesia. I know Amnesia have some sick stuff coming up, which I'm really excited by, and you probably know already.
I love Amnesia. Obviously, we do events there, but it's just real Ibiza for me. It's my favorite club.
Yeah. For me, I've always said Amnesia is my favorite club. Do you know what it is, Dexter? And it's nothing against any of the other clubs. But for me, when I walk into Amnesia, there's memories.
Yes.
From when I was that's when I really loved clubbing. Now, if I go into any other club, bar Es Paradis, it's I don't want to say it's the same, but it is. It's got that memory of like, I can look at the corner of Amnesia and I can think about all the times I was there with this mate or that mate and that mate. And it hasn't changed, and it's not that it hasn't changed. Of course, they've upgraded it and stuff, but it's still that core club. And then when I go into, I probably have similar memories because Ushuaia started around my first couple of years in Ushuaia, but I don't get that with the rest of the clubs. Eden for me was Judgment Sundays, but it's changed now and it's very beautiful.
Yeah.
That my happy memories was always in Amnesia Cream.
Yeah.
And I get that when I go back to your guys your event at Kevin and Perry. Like,
I was just leading on to that. Are you coming this year? I think you got ill last. Didn't you? Were you ill last year? Or did you just not manage to make it somehow? You were there the year before.
I've had such bad luck. I never get ill. 2 years ago, I was ill. I couldn't lift my head out of the pillow. Then last year, I've got in there. And I remember going in. I don't know why. I was in, remember, with Seb and Tall Paul in the back room.
Yep.
I drank a can of Red Bull and I had the worst bloat. I felt like I was going to explode. And I was trying to like just burp or I was in so much pain and I kept bumping into people and I felt really miserable. So I stayed for a couple of hours maybe, and then I was gutted because I never got to finish the vlog. I started the vlog, but it just sod's law. I was unlucky. So this year.
It's a great event. I mean, we love putting it on purely because it just brings back so many raw, unique, authentic Ibiza memories. And a lot of old faces turn up for it as well, which is great.
It's different. It's just It's just you almost feel like I feel out of place when I try to make a video because nobody else is doing that.
It's
You're like,
so odd.
A couple of people.
Very few. I mean, I've got photos of literally a camera up in the air and a major point at the night, and everyone is properly. The energy is electric, and it really does remind me of like 20 years ago. So to have that is just.
You see, awesome. The video I posted was when I walked in. It was Cafe Del Mar playing in the ice cannon, and I just caught it lovely. Straight away, 100,000 views.
Wow, I posted that a few times as well.
I think.
And you did the other one as well. From our first year, you were up at the DJ booth, and the CO2 went off, and I could hear and you can hear you go ooh, in the background. And we used that clip as one of our promo pieces.
Yeah,
and it's been viewed millions of times.
It's kind of like. Well, for me, I kind of know what I'm doing, so I know what I'm looking for, and I know
the tracks, so you know what's going to happen. It's CO2, and this year we've got God's Kitchen.
Yes, I've seen that.
So that will be. I know Nick is working hard away at the lineup for that, but that's going to be another spectacular, and it's been planned for the same week as Kevin and Perry because that demographic will be on island. We did a successful God's Kitchen in Birmingham. And the plan was always to do Ibiza next.
Yeah.
And we had an opportunity and we took it this year. So will you be
100%. That I used to have the albums. Or my sister, somebody had the albums, they were all in my house. Can't imagine me buying an album, so it must have been my sister that used to have the albums. When are you thinking of releasing the lineup for that, or just?
It should be soon. You know what it's like. What it's like. It's just the backwards and forwards. But luckily we have Nick, and and he's been a booker for 20 odd years, and he knows what he's doing. It's difficult nowadays to really get a lineup put together that everyone's going to be happy with.
Yeah.
Because it's not just as easy as, and this is another reason why we're doing these podcasts, that picking up the phone to XYZ and saying, can you come and play for us? There may be some reason why they can't play. They may be booked somewhere else. There could be other reasons going on. And there's some Ibizas that are some DJs that are very Ibiza, and there's some DJs that are very UK orientated. And I'd leave it up to Nick. You know, it's I'm glad I stay well out of that, but he's done a grand job so far. So
I think a lot of people don't really see that, like, as well. Like, you see, and I'm not going to name anyone in particular, but you have DJs that, let's say for argument's sake, that will maybe draw 5,000 tickets in Belfast, but you put them on in Ibiza, and you've got that margin of potentially a very small percentage of them might be there between those 3 or 4 days.
Absolutely.
It'd be lucky if they sell 100 tickets in Ibiza.
It's a really, really tough environment. I mean, we're very lucky. We've got one more time, which is, it just kind of is a little bit different to everything else. We're very much more down the classics route. But yet again, we've got Nick, and he's very careful about how he programs each night, so it appeals to a broader amount of people. Because you're right, some of these DJs are not worth their money, as in ticket sales, in certain environments, in certain locations. So it's a tough one, because some DJs might pull 10,000 people, like a Calvin Harris, but then you get another DJ that wants really big money, but they won't sell 500 tickets, you know?
Yeah. And it's not necessarily their fault. It's just that demographic, because they could go the next week and play to 5,000 people, because
it's who's there on the island.
Yeah,
what month
you know,
it is.
you've got this tiny island, and it's specific to, you know, certain, you know, it's essentially it's oversaturated, because let's say for argument's sake you had a gig in Dublin, you not only have Dublin, but you have the whole of Ireland, so you've got the time to promote, and we're talking hundreds of thousands of people, whereas in Ibiza you've only got a specific frame, and if they're not coming specifically for a set date, then it's very hard to then push that event, because
very,
it's
very
like
true. Yeah,
it's like when people say, oh, you know, people like Tiesto, Armin van Buuren, these are mega names, but they don't even hold residencies. They put them, you know, Armin's on a September, and that's plenty of time to which is strange, because I remember whenever Armin and Tiesto would pack out Privilege to 8,000-9,000 people, and then the last couple of shows I've been at, they've been all right, but they're not been that massive demand. And then I think as well, when I was surprised, nothing against Carl Cox, when I seen Carl Cox at Universe, I'm like, I remember the roadblock when Carl Cox used to play at Privilege, and then the next year it was like he was at DC10, and it was busy, but it wasn't where it was like, it can change so bloody quick.
Absolutely. Like, we're really lucky that we are bombarded with Kevin and Perry. When is the date? When is the date? From the first minute, we because we're actually moving people. People are coming deliberately for that event. Whereas your normal person coming to Ibiza will be coming to Ibiza just to fit in with the holiday plans. And whoever's playing at that time, they'll go to those particular events, like the Fishers and the David Guettas and the Solid Grooves and things like that. But we're our one-off. We bring thousands of people just for that event, and that's a real honor. And we're really, really happy that people make that effort. It's very similar to what the guys do with Clockwork Orange.
That's what I was going to say. Clockwork's just a different,
awesome.
You know, it's
awesome,
like, and again, it's the people who go to Clockwork or watch my vlogs. It's fascinating. Like, they just live for that week, and they live for that week.
They're an absolute, they're a machine. They've been going for so many years. I love Danny. He's a great guy, and they deserve every bit of success in Ibiza.
I love the Clockwork crowd. I go there, and it's the same as Kevin and Perry. Everyone watches the vlogs. I spend most of the night just chatting. Never really get a good vlog done. Thankfully, I had a videographer last time we were at Clockwork, so he done all the work.
I'm moving on to your channel. What are your plans for 2025? Is there anything different going on with it?
No, I think I'm going to just instead of trying to bang out a video every day, I'm going to maybe sort of sway into the documentary style, but in my own way. I still want to use my GoPro. I still don't want to use. I guess I have this bit of an arrogance where when somebody says, "Oh, what do you use?" I'm like, that broken GoPro and a phone.
Yeah.
I don't want to go down the route because there's so many content creators out there now, and
Using
a lot of people,
top spec sort of
and it's
stuff.
like, you've got like a team with you. You got the video guy, you got that, and it's how like I know how long it takes to make a vlog, and if I bring in a team of people with me, I lose my authenticity. When there's another person around me, that's just two different ideas, or it might be as simple as going down. All right, we're going to Santa Gertrudis today. Oh, well, I don't want to go that way because I'd rather stop here. And then all of a sudden you've went off. It might be just as simple as going to a cafe, but you've just went off the train and you're like, no, this is what I'm doing today. So I was explaining to my girlfriend as well. I was like, when I'm with you, I don't want to make, because there's somebody else there. But when I'm on my own, I'm just like full of ideas and I can go and get it done. I struggle, even all my mates, when they're, you think you'd be better with people around you, but I'm like, they don't want to be in camera, or I get that out of my face. Am I in that? So
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, being on my own makes better content for me, but it can be a wee bit slightly boring in a sense for the user. But I think maybe dedicating a week and going, I'm going to make this vlog about this subject in a documentary style, but in my style, because it works, because I have proof track record that I have had vlogs that have hit 150,000 views. So I should realistically be doing them. It's going to be a lot of subjects that people aren't probably comfortable with, but it's funny when I do a subject, maybe swaying on how expensive Ibiza is coming. I'll get a lot of people give me stick for it from the island, and I'll be like, right, but you've completely missed the 500 and 600 other videos that's positive about the island. So I'm kind of, I'm in a bit of a, like, I'm not going to mention him because I don't think he'd probably want me to mention him, but there's somebody helping me with structure, and it's just opened me up, to where I should be positioning, where I should be planning, because every day, every vlog is exactly how you see it. And what I'm doing today, boom, here we go.
Yeah, and we're coming back to that point before, is like when you were posting on Ibiza Club News, I'll be right in saying, because I know this happens to us a lot, when you post like a really highly edited, well-produced video, and then you post a video of you in the crowd at Ushuaia, just like personal, like, or just like a crazy video, but it looks really second rate, and the quality's not there. Which performs best? It's always going to be
the worst one. Yeah.
Yeah. So keep on doing what you're doing then.
Yeah.
So it's the winter now. What's your day-to-day world like at the moment? What are you doing?
I basically wake up, go for a coffee, go for 4 coffees, circle the town, go, what should I do? No, that's kind of it. You've got a lot of people wanting to meet up, discuss ideas for next summer, but I honestly, Dexter, I've been doing this for 15 years and I started just nipping it in the bud. You're driving around the island, talking to the same people you've been talking to for the 15 years, and it's all great ideas, and how everyone forgets about you as soon as May comes, because people are just wanting to meet, to discuss ideas that never happen.
Yeah, no one ever follows up. We get a lot of that.
And I'm as bad as that as well. I go and have business meetings, and I've had about 3 this week, and all I need to do is follow up and sort it. So I'm just keep looking after me. I'm not drinking. I'm going to the gym. I'm eating healthy. I'm enjoying my hikes. Something comes of it, it comes of it. And thankfully, I'm in that sort of position where I don't really need to work. I'm not stressed about it. I've got a roof over my head. And I think that's then when that's when the best content comes out.
Yeah.
Some mornings I'll wake up and I'll be like, fuck it, I'm going up the hill. And then...
Yeah, you like your hill walk, don't you? Like your walks.
I love it.
I mean, because the people I've been speaking to over the last couple of weeks who live in the winter, you can go one way or the other. You can either be clean, or you could be really just a mess, an absolute mess. I was every winter. I was never had a healthy winter. Me and
you're
I was going. So
You
it's
wake
good
up on a
with
Monday and you could be in the pub at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Monday because
easily.
somebody's. And the problem is as well, you've got all these people coming over for business. They're coming to have meetings, but they're still wanting to go. I had a couple of big names over last week. I'll not mention their names, but they're just like, oh, we're over for business. But as soon as 2 p.m. comes, they're like, do you fancy going to the pub? I'm like,
Is it Ibiza? You go into, they slip into Ibiza mode straight away. And I used to go into the summers. I've explained this on another podcast that we did, that I used to go into some of the summers exhausted.
Yeah.
All I've been doing is sitting in a ship, or the fisherman's, or somewhere like that, drinking.
News just in: the ship reopens on Saturday.
I'm so glad it's reopened. I haven't mentioned it in any of the work groups, or one more time that the ship closed and it moved to something else. And I didn't really go into it. And I walked past it in September and it was shut. And I was just like, oh God, everything that was dear to me, because I used to live above it for years.
Scott Fowler's going to be doing the kitchen and everything. I think he's going to try and do
He's a great chef.
Yeah, he's going to do sort of sports themed, because he obviously done it up, changed it.
Yeah.
But I know it's opening on Saturday for the Rice Festival.
I'm so glad, because it's got a great license as well. You know, it can be open a long time, and it's just, you know, everyone who ever worked in Ibiza knows the ship. And whether it's called the ship or something else, it will still be a magnet.
This week on Saturday is the Rice Festival in San Antonio. I don't know if you remember, but it's just a monster. I think there's 5,000 to 10,000 people. Must be. I have never seen so many people in San Antonio.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I love the festivals.
Island. Yeah, so that happens Saturday.
Let me ask you, with your Dwayne Muffin, have you had any particularly weird or bizarre fan interactions with people? Is it just being mobbed all the time? Is that the one thing? Or is there anything particular that stands out when it comes to fans or followers from your, or subscribers, should we call them, from your page?
There's been a few catfish scenarios and stuff.
Or the trolling and stuff like that. I bet you get trolls because people
Yeah. The thing is, I've got trolled, but people need to remember when they are trolling me, and it's a small world, and I've had to stop posting my stories in real time, purely based on, like, if I put a restaurant up, suddenly someone coincidentally appears there.
Ibiza does attract a certain variety of those personalities.
It's not. It's. I suppose they've come on Ibiza on their own and they don't know the island, and then it can be a bit strange. But at the same time, I've met a beautiful relationship from it. Like, I've been introduced to. Yeah, it's a good icebreaker, because no matter where I go, everybody knows me. Yeah, I walk into a room, I'm like, oh, Dwayne, nice to meet you, and they're like, oh yeah, I already know you, and I'm like, done. How you doing? It's comfortable. Also, you can be on edge walking into restaurants, and you can feel everybody's talking about you because you can hear them. It's like, oh, that's him. That's that guy that does the YouTube videos.
Wow.
I remember being in Glasgow and walking through Glasgow, and I could hear someone going, that's that cunt to YouTube. And I was like, I'm going to take that as a compliment, because it doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. But yeah, even going to the Celtic games, like my buddies are like, what that? Like, people running up and taking pictures, and people at the chip vans in Glasgow giving you free burgers, and just like, it's weird when you're out of Ibiza that it happens. But
I bet it is. So if someone had told you 10 years ago you'd become Dwayne Muffin, the YouTuber, how do you think you would have reacted to that? Did you have a YouTube channel before?
No, I had one when I was a kid. And there's a couple of Ibiza videos. I had a couple of big viral videos that have millions of views when I was about 14 or 15.
Remember you mentioned this or something? You had like another channel that you can't get back into or something?
I can't get back into it, but to be honest, it was just traveling around watching the football.
Wow.
Back then, nobody was on YouTube. And one video in particular has 1.2, maybe 3, could be 3 million views. And I remember the YouTube Partner Program came at the time, I can't get into it, and I don't want to get into it because it's a different part of my life, and that video was quite bad. It's not a bad video. It was the reason it got that many views is something happened. And,
let's not go any further into that. But
no, it's nothing. I just videoed something, and
I don't think you quite realise how far ahead you are with some of this stuff. Like, you seem to be, you've been on the ball with Twitter, then your Facebook, then Instagram, then the YouTube, and it's like you've got a little bit of foresight, which is great.
I've already started doing the Chinese app.
Yeah.
I just like, I come up, honestly, my head just makes a million miles an hour. And then I have other people, I set up an Instagram there last week for a business idea I have. And I've grown that to 4,000 followers before even one post has gone out. Because I was telling the person who's helping me with the strategy, and I said, he goes, you need to set up this company. And I was like, give me 2 seconds. So because it's such a big following, I put it on my stories. 20,000 people opened it, said, please follow it. 4,000 things. So that's another avenue I'm going down.
That's valuable.
But yeah, I think people probably think I'm a bit naive and just the guy that walks around with the video, but probably don't know that I have all this background and I kind of know how it all works. I study the analytics. There's a method in most of my madness.
I knew nothing when you were over 1 million people on 1 million followers across the board on Ibiza Club News.
Club News, yeah.
And so you were well ahead of the game. I didn't even know how to open up a page, I don't think, then. So yeah, you've definitely been at the start of things.
Yeah.
I'm just going to close this podcast off, and we always ask this. And thank you very much for your time today. And I can't wait for people to see this because they'll probably get a lot better understanding of how it all works with what you do. Yeah.
No problem at all. It's been nice to chat.
Finally, what would be
first person I spoke to all day?
Yeah, I live on a little island as well, and honestly, it's like, have you ever seen that film 28 Days Later?
Yeah.
It's just like that. When the weather's bad, it's like no one around, and it's like that in Ibiza as well. But it used to be whenever it rained, everyone went to the pub.
Yeah,
that was it. Yeah, but that's dangerous though.
Well, if you want to find someone, you know where they are, and that one excuse after the other. Oh, it's Monday, let's go for a drink. Tuesday, Champions League. Wednesday, it's Jimmy's birthday that you've never met.
Super Sundays, and it's the weekend, get payday. It's this
going out to watch the Super Bowl. Never watched an NFL match in my life, but Super Bowl's all. I'll be there.
Yeah, any excuse. So my final question is, what would be your one more tune of the night? What's the one tune, if you had one tune? I'm asking absolutely everybody this, because obviously the podcast is called One More Tune.
Easy. No, I'm not going to say System F, Out of the Blue. Can't go wrong with a bit of Ferry Corsten.
Great tune. It is a great tune.
It's really euphoric in it, and it just gets the place going.
Dwayne,
that.
Thank you very much for your time. I really have loved talking to you today. And,
no problem, man. I appreciate it.
Good luck for summer 2025.